Hi, Claude Whitacre here. I'm a sales trainer, a sales speaker. I speak to groups of salespeople across the country. I've written several books on selling, and I read a lot of books on selling and on sales and on marketing and how to get customers and prospecting and things like that. Well, one of the books that I read recently that just came out and I'm really kind of high on right now is Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Mr. Blount. If you're seeing this right now, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Okay, here's what I like about this book. First of all, it gives you the entire sequence, a lot of scripts and what to say when you're prospecting. But I can't go through all of that because this is just a video and it's only going to be a couple of minutes. So there's really one thing that I wanted to talk about, one thing only. On pages 39 and 40, it talks about sales reps that when they're prospecting and they're cold calling and all that, it talks about delusional reps, okay, reps that think that they're working really, really hard and are getting their results. Well, Mr. Blount talks about keeping your own records, and I've always done that myself. I've been selling now for 40 years. I practice what I preach, so I've written books on selling, but I also sell. So I've been doing that, for 40 years. I've been keeping records of my own sales. And here's the trick to that. You have to keep accurate records. Now, when I've been a sales manager and have had groups of salespeople working for me, generally what will happen is this. The salesman will come to me and he'll say, and this, in fact, one thing comes to mind really quickly is a quick story. A young man comes to me and he says, Claude, it's just terrible. Business is terrible. I said, well, what do you mean business is terrible? And he says, well, I just haven't made any sales. Nobody's buying. And at the time, see, he did not keep records of his activities, but I did. I kept records of his activities. And there's several reasons for that. One is I wanted to know what averages were, of a group of our salespeople. What would be average if you made, one sale out of every 3 presentations, or you talked to, 6 people to get 1 appointment, or whatever those averages were. So I could tell if somebody's a little bit above average or a little bit below average, or if they're a standout, and if they're a standout, what are they doing differently, and we can study from that person, and that's how you learn and grow. Okay. Well, this gentleman came to me, a young guy came to me, and he says, Claude, business is terrible, I'm not doing anything. I said, are you working? Oh, yeah. Are you prospecting? Oh, yeah. Are you going in presentations? Oh, yeah. I'm just working. Nobody's buying, though. It's terrible. Business is terrible. I said, well, let me look at your records. Let me look here. Let's see now. Last week, you made 6 calls, 6 prospecting calls. You got on 2 presentations, and you sold both of them. So business isn't terrible. In fact, business is great. You just need to do more of it. You just need to make more calls. Okay, really is what it is. And at first he didn't believe me. He says, no, I've missed 6 calls. What are you talking about, 6 calls? I've made many, many more calls. I said, no, 6. That's all you've made is 6, So keep really good records. I'm going to tell you a secret about slumps, sales slumps. I've had them. You've had them. If you've been selling for more than a year, you've had a sales slump. We all get in it, all right? Here's what I know. Unless the economy crashes or something, some horrible thing, an atomic bomb goes off in your town, something that just makes it impossible to sell. The only employer, everybody gets laid off, okay? Something like that, unless something like that happens. A sales slump is always this. You're simply not working as much as you did. Because if you keep really accurate records, you'll find out that over a long period of time, you always close about the same number of people. Your closing percentage stays about the same. The number of people you call versus the number of people that make an appointment, that stays kind of the same over a long period of time. The number of people that make an appointment and actually keep the appointment, that stays the same. The number of people that actually keep the appointment and you find out are qualified, that stays the same. The number of people that you are qualified and you do a presentation for, and then they buy, that stays the same. Okay, all of these things stay kind of about the same. The difference is how much you work. That's really the difference, okay? And what happens is this. It's really difficult to look at your own sales records and say, I'm just not working hard enough. It's real hard for you to say that. But you know what is motivating to me? Reality. When I see those records and I say, you know what? The reason I am not selling is because I'm not working hard enough. In fact, one time, I did this for 3 months. I'm sorry, I did it for 6 months. It was 6 months, and it was 25 years ago. It was a long time ago I did this. But I wanted to know how much money I made per hour. Okay, I was selling at the time. I was selling vacuum cleaners in people's homes. I was going in people's homes and selling vacuum cleaners, and I wanted to know how much I was making per hour. So I kept really accurate records for 6 full months. I figured 6 months will give me a good cross section of what's really happening with me in my business. And every time I'd make a call, every time I'd knock on a door, every time I would call a referral, okay, I would mark it down. I knew exactly how many times every day I did all of those things, how many times I did a presentation, how many times those people bought, how much money I made. That's really important too. I want to know how much I made on each sale, and I added all of that up and I averaged all of that out over a 6-month period. And this is what I found out. I found out that every time that I made a phone call, if I made 6 calls, I would have an appointment. I found that out, okay? I found out that if it was a referral from an owner, somebody that bought from me that was an owner, if it was a referral call, 80% of the time they bought from me, 80%, okay? If it was not a referral, 41% of those people bought from me. If it was just a cold call and they were willing to take a look at my product and they took a look, about 41% of those people bought, month in, month out, okay? I also found out that there was never, and this is motivational for me, and hopefully you figure something like this out for yourself. It was real motivational for me. I found out that over a 6-month period, there was never more than 8 hours of actual effort between sales. In other words, from one sale ending to the next sale ending, it was never more than 8 hours of work. Now, that doesn't mean I worked 8 hours and made a sale. That's not what that means. Some days I worked 3 hours, some days I worked 9 hours, some days I worked 4 hours. Okay, but in some of those days, I didn't work very hard. So you can work an hour and just make 2 calls, or you can work an hour and make 20 calls, or 30 calls. Okay, it depends on how hard you're working. But there was never an 8-hour period of me actually prospecting or selling. Those are the only 2 things that count, prospecting or selling. There's never an 8-hour period where I didn't make a sale. Well, that's pretty good. I was very excited about that. So I knew if I needed to make a sale, I just had to work for 8 hours, and I'd make one every single time. That is one of the things about selling, is you need to keep really, really accurate records of what you're doing, accurate track of your calls. You need to know exactly what you're doing. You need to know exactly what those things are doing, how they're paying for you, and a lot of that is covered in this book, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. I suggest you buy the book. I'm really high on this book. I really think it's a great book. I'm going to read it again, and the book I've got right now is already marked up with a lot of notes. Okay? Go on Amazon and get it. Thank you.